Enter madman, stage left. The audience rises and holds their breath. They let the vampires into their house, pretend they don't see when the teeth come out. Put a band-aid on their throat. No one wants to rock the boat, and no one wants to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. The curtain rises and the players come out. Webs of lies spinning from their mouths. Start looking, listen for a little while. Attention to the men behind the curtain. Just look away when you see the blood spurting down to a steady drip. I promise to leave you a little bit. I'll be back for another drink tomorrow. I love the taste of your terror and your sorrow bathing in your blood. It's never enough. On the face of all mankind, our numbers up and the dead for the time. Go along to get along in the tide by the siren song. The flames are empty and the crypts are cracking open. The horde's upon you and you stand there frozen, waiting for the word. Stand in line and wait. Don't follow the strings to find out who is pulling. Just drink your poison, keep on laughing and drooling, eating your own flesh. The master always knows what's worldwide genocide. The overlords of hungry parasites. They point the finger and the eagles fly. Raining fire, children die. Starving plague, paralyzed. A pile of bodies rotten, covered in fire. But no one wants to talk about it. Strings, no more bowing to the master. I tried to run, but they only came faster. Now I stand my ground. I ain't backing down. Silver bullets in my pistol, in my holster. My will is strengthened and my confidence is bolstered. Don't test my resolve. Don't test my resolve.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. It is Sunday, December the 3rd, 2023. We are coming to you live from Carter County, Tennessee, here in the middle of the Iron Mountain. My name is Cliff. I'm joined by Dustin. Tim's taking the night off, and we are so glad to have you with us. Dalton's already up in the chat. What's happening, brother? What are you saying? It doesn't show up on my chat up here, so I have to read off your phone. Just got home from work, Christmas party, good buzz, and a bonus, and some good shrimp. Some good old shrimp.
Alfredo.
Shrimp Alfredo. Shrimp salad. Shrimp cocktail. Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
And if we all combine our powers together and say Tim 220, we will get the Tim back in the studio with us.
That's right.
It's conjuring him like Goku with the spirit bomb.
Tim is probably out there fixing all of Carter County's problems right now. He's probably out there working on the bridge by hand because he's sick and tired of the county taking so long to get that bridge back together. He's really annoyed because he's in the area where if that bridge is out, he's got to go back a whole other long way around. So he's already halfway down the shortcut, and then the shortcut's blocked for him, so he'll have to go all the way around the other way. So Tim's really aggravated by that bridge. I'm aggravated by it too. It cost me about 5 minutes with it being out, but Tim, I'd say it cost him probably about 10 minutes. Probably anyway. Anytime he's going to Johnson City. So yeah, and it's a lot of people. The bridge down here on the old Gap Creek Road in Carter County has been down for probably about 6 months now, and they've just shut the bridge down. It's not broken or anything. They're going to repair it in about a year and a half. So nobody can use it for now, and everybody's just pissed off. You know what I think it is? I think it's in response to my saying, "Hey, if you don't like the speed cameras, you can boycott the speed or not the red light license plate reading software that tracks you as you go through town in Elizabethton and keeps a record of all your whereabouts, all your stops everywhere you go." You know, I said, well, we should boycott this system by going around the municipality of Elizabethton, and so now that's one of the main ways you can do that. Cut off. Anyway, you know how I am. Tim's out there tagging all the single moms of Carter County. I don't think Tim's wife would appreciate that, so I hope not.
He might be getting cigarettes though.
Yeah, that's right. He might.
Cigarettes and voting signs.
Well, I hope y'all ready for a good one tonight. I've got me, I brought 2 cups of coffee down, but I already drank one, so I'm starting on my 2nd cup. And I've got me some backup water here, so I'm good to go for a while. And we're going to get into some cryptids tonight, some stuff. I've just recently come across some new photos and videos of some different cryptids and stuff, so I was going to share them with y'all and see what y'all thought about them. And some of them are from right around here, some of the newer ones that I found. Or not newer ones, but ones I haven't heard of. They're Cherokee legend cryptids that we're going to look into. You may have heard of the, what's the show, Mountain Monsters?
Yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah, some of those have come up on Mountain Monsters, and they didn't really do them justice. A lot of people here in the cryptid community felt like. But, I mean, it is a 30-minute or 22-minute network television show, so there's only so much they can do. So the fact that they're, putting any light on this subject at all, we can appreciate that. We just have to recognize what it is and remember that the true storytellers are out there in the internet doing their thing. And, Mountain Monsters just kind of leads everybody, in that direction. Like when I was looking into feral people, I actually saw it on Expedition X, one of Josh Gates's shows, and I think he's like a producer of it. But they were looking into feral people over just across the hill in North Carolina, and they were in Newport, Tennessee, Newport, Tennessee, down in Cocke County, Popcorn Sutton's stomping ground there. Pam, if you're out there, hope you're doing well. Me and Dustin haven't seen you in a few years, but
it's been a handful.
Yeah, but I hope everything's going on good down there in Cocke County, and but anyway, that's where they spotted those feral humans. There were several reports of them, and so they went in and checked it out, and they did research on feral humans and kind of got people started on it. And if you look in, even in the YouTube community, but Reddit cryptid and all these other Twitter cryptid communities, you can find all kinds of other stuff than what they get into on Discovery Channel or whatever it may be. So these things are good for getting people that aren't necessarily so far up their own butt like a lot of us are with cryptid stuff and conspiracy stuff. We think we've heard everything, but there's people who are out there kind of discovering this kind of information every day, so it's good to have stuff like out there. So a lot of people tend to like gatekeep and be like, oh, you watch Mountain Monsters or whatever. No, I mean,
if it sparks your curiosity into it, it's a good thing.
Exactly, that's what I say. So be cool. But I don't think any of our audience is is anything like that. But some people, when they see, I guess, things that they like that are more obscure, get like a mainstream show or source or something, they kind of maybe look down their nose at it to a degree. Because, oh, this is my thing that I like. Oh, it can't be mainstream. And I've been guilty of that.
I was about to say, there are things like that whenever I notice things start getting more limelight or popular, I'm like, man,
yeah, and
now it's going to get ruined eventually.
Yeah, and to be fair, it does with a lot of it.
Because, if you just watch it, you're like, how many times has this gotten ruined, ruined? So sometimes, yeah.
Well, I think like that happens a lot more with like creative things. A good example I can think of would be like Stranger Things. You know, the first series of it was or the first season of it was really, really good, and it was never really expected to be a big hit. But then it became a big hit, and then they started trying to please audiences, and you could tell they were trying to also attract new audiences and like capitalize on all the retro stuff and use that to, you know, kind of.
They at least pulled it kind of back there at the end of it and got it, because in the middle it got kind of like,
But it was, but at the same time, it was like you could tell it was a direct effect of it becoming more popular, and you know the content creators trying to please everybody, which you see in a lot of, you know, that's just one example off the top of my head. It happens in a lot of different stuff, and
that's an example that still, even at its worst, stayed all right.
Yeah,
and you know, not like some of the other ones that we won't mention that have gone to utter shit.
Tonight, Dalton, I'm slurping on some black 8 o'clock coffee company. This is whole bean, what is it, French espresso roast. And I'm just drinking it from the percolator black. And it's good. No alcohol tonight. I usually do have an alcoholic beverage of some sort. I've got getting a collection up there because I've been buying stuff and not drinking it. So that's a good thing though, because then you have stuff for guests if I ever have any. But you know, that never happens because I have no friends basically. But that's all right. I've got a few. You know, it's quality over quantity. You know what I mean? But what are you drinking out there, Dalton? You left the company Christmas party, so you must have brought something tasty home with you.
Besides the shrimp Alfredo.
Yeah. But some of these cryptids are going to be from all over the place tonight. We've got them.
We can say you can not gatekeep on things that could possibly be factual.
Well, and that's kind of the thing. It's a little bit different for something like, again, something where you like a musical artist, television show, whatever it is, and it's not that popular, and then suddenly it becomes more popular. Death Note, you know, if you want to get another Netflix one that really, you know, was messed up by trying to please general audiences rather than, you know, you've got a specific fan base that enjoy your product. So if you're somebody that produces one of these shows and suddenly you make it, and that show that you make is suddenly, or that music that you make is suddenly more popular, and you then try to make something that pleases everybody, and it ends up straying away from the original unique thing about you that made people like it in the first place. And so I don't think it's possible to do in the crypto thing, but at the same time, with information, if the information is good, the information's good. If people debunk it, then it's debunked. You know, that's one of the good things about it is, of course, nowadays it's harder than ever to actually like debunk or not debunk anything now, because photographs are so good. But then again, you know, editing photographs is so good. You can use free, you know, downloadable software to make a photo that, without like really paying attention to, if you're good at editing, you're not going to be able to see that things are changed on it. You could even splice in, you know, completely fake images into it. You can have even AI make you a fake image, and then you use Photoshop, or like I said, even a free editor like a GIMP or something to transpose those two photographs together and make one thing appear to be in a photograph that's not. So there's lots of ways to fool, and there's lots of ways to edit, and anyway, sometimes it takes a long time for the truth to come out about some of these photos and stuff.
That is true.
But one of the more interesting ones, and the thing about the one I'm about to show you is, I mean, he could even be a guy in a suit, because we remember, like, a lot of the places where we were talking about in Halloween and stuff, like shaman would put on the heads of animals. This is from the Daily Star. Let's see. I've already rejected this once, but let's do it again. And it says, grizzly goat man who killed 5 at haunted bridge still active and could strike again. The disturbing goat man creature could be responsible for a string of deaths near a haunted bridge, with an urban legend expert claiming the terrifying beast could still be active. And let's get a good look at the goat man here. Now, with a photograph like this, for one, it'd be really easy for somebody to dress in a suit, and you wouldn't be able to tell.
For that one to fake edit it, because it's shitty enough quality that would be more difficult to fake that to make it look
right, and have it match the fakeness.
Yeah.
Or have it match the crappiness. Whoops. But let's see. Let's go a little bit further down here.
That it still couldn't have been done, but to have matched everything.
Yeah.
With what looks like someone shooting over a cell phone and then blowing it up.
Yeah.
It's kind of a.
Here's another photo of the goat man behind the tree there, and you can't really see his paws really good, but or his hooves really good. But does he have? It looks almost like appendages coming down, or digits
like
of some
fingers
sort.
on the hands. It looks.
Yeah. So a clawed, terrifying goat man. That would be, and so the reason that some of these things are popping up is they say that these cryptids, and there are a number of which, they actually are consuming human beings in the national forests. And so if you've seen David Paulides' Missing 411, you've seen a lot of weird disappearances in the national forest. And so we're going around the Twitter conspiracy sphere, well, let's call it that, the conspiracy sphere, is that
Tim are here to argue that about it being flat.
yeah, the conspiracy disc. The railroad trestle is said to be home of the goat man. Reports of goat men jumping off the trestle and onto roofs of cars passing under it. So the going around the conspiracy sphere is that things like this goat man are in the national forests all over the country, and that they are actively hunting human beings as they go in there, and they basically like the predator, they like a good fight, and they may even like season the meat before they have their meal, because they like someone who is, it seems like they appreciate like somebody with training in the military, like special forces training, like people who are expert hikers, people who are used to being in the woods, and these people just vanish without a trace. And so the conjecture among the Twitter conspiracy sphere is, or the conspiracy disc, is that these people are being hunted and eaten because they are a worthy adversary, for one, and for two, they raise levels of adrenaline that you don't normally get, that the thing wouldn't normally get among the average public, because you know, this is what they like. So, have you ever seen anything about this, or you get into Reddit cryptid or conspiracy or Twitter cryptid or anything like that? You in the chat, y'all see anything like this? What have y'all heard about the Goat Man?
I've not heard much besides it's like I actually watched a guy that I watched do some like plays. They play like horror games and stuff like that. And he did one that was in a national park that was almost quasi sort of like, it was like a goat man, but it was kind of skinwalker-ish because there was like someone in the forest he was trying to help from like a watchtower. Mm-hmm. And then there was someone else coming over the radio that tried to mimic the voice, but once you caught on, the voice was a little different. And it's like if you let it straight to you, like it would bring up like the goat man would bust through like the door on and kill you too.
Okay.
You had to try to divert each of them.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard of that.
It's kind of an older game, but it's funny. I just watched that like a couple weeks ago now.
Well, you know what's really wild is while I was writing this episode, I was going to do it last week, so I'm a little rusty on the stuff, but I looked over everything the other day, but I have the episode written for last week, and 3 days after we were going to do it, but then we ended up taking the weekend off, or maybe it was, I don't know.
It was last week.
Yeah, but either 3 or 4 days after that, Wendigoon posts. I haven't watched it yet because I didn't want his to tempt mine, but he did another like cryptid video. So check out Wendigoon if you like this kind of stuff. I don't know where he is exactly, but he's somewhere pretty close to us. Maybe the Knoxville area would be my guess. He's in Tennessee for sure, and more what do you call it? Metropolitan area. Probably Knoxville or Nashville. What's up, Aaron? Glad to have you in the chat, brother. Dalton, you're starting a new job a week tomorrow at the post office and the liquor store. All right, brother. Well, yeah, that'll be good, man. Yeah, post office is definitely steady work. Always going to be mill running, and you get nice benefits working there too. I think actually get paid pretty good. So. Not a bad job if you can get it. I wouldn't mind delivering mail, man. I like one of the things I really like about my job is driving around all day and like getting out of the truck and going to do stuff and then getting back in the truck and driving somewhere else. Like it's pretty awesome. I think I'd probably like delivering mail too because I like always liked when I had like several things to do on one street and I could just park the truck and walk down the street and do it all at once and get back in the truck. But you're going to be processing, so. Going to be on your feet all day. You better get some comfortable shoes, brother. I bet you already have them though from working in the liquor store. You probably be on your feet all day there too. Let's see. Mixed drink you had. Some Goose Island and Corona. Hitting the bush light though, right? I've never heard of the Bunny Man Bridge, Dalton. Tell us a little bit about that. Yeah, I'd say if that is a large human, if it is a human being in a suit, that thing is pretty large. Aaron, you're talking about human animal hybrid. Yeah, I think we talked about human animal hybrids recently, and we went through the very basic examples, kind of as a pretext to this show, because being this whole the whole last several episodes, we've kind of been getting into a lot of the signs of the apocalypse, that kind of the end of world tech, the idea that maybe we've reached this point in civilization several times before and, destroyed ourselves by becoming too powerful, by trying to understand the nature of reality. We kind of got too far and thought we understood things we didn't understand. And I think we're approaching that point again. And so we're meddling in a lot of things that maybe ought not be meddled with, as far as, CRISPR, genetic editing. We gave very basic examples from decades ago of spider goats and human pig hybrids where they're, growing organs in them. Okay, that was basically to set the stage for anybody who's along with us. That's basically to set the stage for the kind of stuff we're seeing now, because the idea that all these there's all these cryptids running around. There's a couple of schools of thought, at least from my perspective. I teeter between the two. It's like, one, is it some kind of genetic hybrids that are on the loose? We've seen things like the Montauk monster, whatever, where their creature was. We've seen the chupacabra that we heard about for years. That there's actual photos and videos of this weird creature that we don't know what exactly it is. It's a little dog-looking thing. They can say it's not a chupacabra all you want, but nobody can identify those photos and videos where they have them of what exactly that thing is. So I'm going to go with chupacabra. But in any event, we keep seeing these things. So I think that's the first school of thought, that these some kind of weird hybrid creatures or undiscovered creatures are kind of running amongst the American woodlands, amongst the deserts, and
we can also go back to our Lyme disease episode.
Yep.
Because, they're like, that's pretty much straight up like genetic modifying of them to try to weaponize it.
Yep. They modified the ticks and ended up likely creating Lyme disease out of the lab in Lyme, Connecticut up there. Or not Lyme, Connecticut. Where was the lab? It was in New York.
It's off that coast. It's like an island. Yeah.
So, it's Bethesda, Maryland. Was that where it was? No. Plum Island.
Yeah,
that's where it was. So Plum Island, they had that research facility. They came up with these genetically designed, genetic diseases and things that ticks could carry. And they, the Montauk Island, Montauk monster, not far from there, that washed up. So anyway, that's the first school of thought, that these things are in fact actual creatures hidden within, the vastness of the continent of the United States, or the world really, but unacknowledged by mainstream science because specimens have been unable to be captured, this kind of thing. The second is something that it may be. What if it's an online phenomenon? Now, for example, what I mean by that, there was about 15 years ago, there was a story that kind of made its way. I forget what show it was. I think it was like a Nat Geo cryptid show or something. And it was a guy talking about seeing like a dog man in Michigan. And before this story came out, there were almost no mention of dog men, right? But suddenly,
like, an Anubis-looking person?
Yeah,
okay.
Like a dog-headed man.
I swear to God, I was at a show in Kentucky once, and I saw a little dog-faced boy. I think he possibly could have been inbred, because his nose was, like, really sunken. He looked like
a pug?
He looked more like a hound dog. Like, he looked like the hush puppy in the face, but on, like, a teenage boy with stringy, greasy blonde hair. Had a Megadeth show.
Oh, man. Well,
it's stuck in my mind. Okay, if you ever seen the early 2000s TV sci-fi show where Jessica Alba got her start, Dark Angel,
I remember it.
there was a hybrid in there where they kind of look like dog people, and there was one in there and it looked just like that kid. It's what that kid looked like.
Is it something we'd be able to easily find photo of that? Okay, let's see if we can find that. Well, Dark Angel, that was a James Cameron television show, wasn't it? Would he be on the promo poster or something?
I don't know about the promo, but it's like you could the IMDb for it or something.
There you go.
Yeah,
look this up real quick, guys.
So I remember I liked that show while I was...
Cast. Well, where's the cast? Sorry, folks. Hang on just a second here. Here we go. We're looking for it. Here we go. You can look with us.
Shoot. I forgot what the character's name was.
Oops. Get out of here, AT&T. All right, we got... Nobody looking familiar there. No dog people.
Well, that's just their IMDb.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from that.
Look up to the pictures from it, maybe.
Let's find a dog, man. A dog boy. Well, I mean, I guess you should expect it to be all just Alba. I don't see any dog boys. Oh well. We tried. But yeah, you look while we're getting everything together here. But the what I was getting at is basically there's not. I wonder if it's not, internet podcast, YouTube video culture that has basically created the Dog Man, almost like the girls created Slender Man, that it came up from, them trying to invent a character and then convince people it was real. And then, eventually these girls were, killing their classmates to sacrifice to Slender Man. And Slender Man was something that got made up. But then, does Slender Man have power now? Because they talked it into existence and they literally killed 2 girls over it, in its name.
That is plausible.
So, but is Dog Man kind of like the same thing? Is it was there really a Dog Man cryptid that's popped up all over the place, or was it just a phenomenon that happened up in Michigan and it was imitated or something like that, due to the internet and the popularity of this kind of content, really picking up over the last several years. And but let's get caught up in the chat because we had a bunch here. Aaron says there's a myth about the Smokies too, about the gnome people. Joshua, okay, he looks like the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. We'll pull Joshua up here from Dark Angel.
But I swear to God, that's what that kid basically kind of looked like, except blonde-haired.
Let's see. Dalton, then I called you Dalton. Scoot over here just a little bit. You're kind of on the edge there. But yeah, let me pull up Joshua from Dark Angel, and I'll show y'all what he's talking about. So, I mean, what do you think? Do you think there's really dog people, or do you think that just, the internet kind of makes it more popular? This kind of looks more like a cat people, doesn't he? You ever see Beauty and the Beast, the 1980s drama?
That is a very likely parallel to that.
Let's look at him real quick. Well, I don't remember the actor's name, but 1980s Beauty and the Beast American drama series. It was a drama, and you would think, with a guy like this, being the lead, I expected this to be an action show, but mostly it was a bunch of blah 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 blah, the whole episode, and then the Beast would beat somebody up, and then the episode would be over, and everything would go back to normal. And that was Ron Perlman, wasn't it? Yeah. Ron Perlman.
So is he wearing makeup there or not?
Yeah, probably that's probably his normal face.
They just got a bee to sting him in the face.
Man. Old Perlman, man. I used to like that guy, but I followed him on Twitter, and
he kind of got pretty insufferable.
That's exactly the word I was going to use, man. He's just so insufferable that I can't enjoy him in any movies now. I was like watching.
Besides, he's still being like the voice from Fallout, the war never changes.
Well, thanks for ruining that for me. I didn't realize it. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, harsh reality's war, damn it.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, and then he where was he? What really got me was when the Harvey Weinstein thing was going on, and everybody was finding out about him forcing himself on women in the casting couch situations and stuff like this, and Ron Perlman was like, "Oh, we all knew what he was doing, but when I would see him in functions, I would piss all over my hands and not wash them before I would shake his hand." Like, oh yeah, you really got him there, didn't you, Ron? That really showed him, how appropriate for what you actually did. You literally pissed yourself rather than do anything about it. You knew it was going on, but instead of actually doing something, you literally pissed yourself, and now you're bragging about it. I just can't take him seriously after that. But anyway, so he was the Beast, and that did look like kind of like the Dog Man. But let's look at the Dog Man from Michigan, because he's kind of where all this started from, and then now you got whole Dog Man conspiracy forums and stuff.
Even though kind of how we've said the one line of thinking with it. It's like, I do think that, like, okay, all the happenings that happen in national forest, that also plays into I liking that conspiracy of like the honeycomb earth, that there's those big pockets that, creatures and other things could live in, or it's just or it's just an easy way for the government to go abduct people for experiments and, like sex rings, slavery, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and who even knows, like, there could be something to there's the theory that the Project Looking Glass has actually...
Or interdimensional being, passages.
Or the humans from the future who allegedly live beneath the earth, but, live there in a different... we're not there yet, but sometimes they travel back to us, to abduct us or whatever. Because apparently that's the theory that some of the people, I think that Bob Lazar may have been one of the main ones floating that, as far as the Greys are not actually aliens, they're us from the future, and that, that's a pretty popular theory around the UFO world. But this one here. Go ahead, Dustin.
Which I guess that could play into effect, if you look at like time dilation, where time is always, it's just a big swirling mass, it's not a line.
Yeah.
So, if something could learn how to manipulate it and move in certain ways, they could actually, in theory, time travel. Or to, come back to look through a different route of time to possibly manipulate things.
Yeah, because like you said, that's a good example of the way it is. Like if if time is a ball of some sort, then, you can have different layers of this ball where you can kind of hit back and forth, but who knows really how it works. They're still trying to figure all that out, and I think messing with that nature of reality is what the Tower of Babel was a metaphor for. And I think because that's the universal language, right? Mathematics, and you have a tower that's meant to reach the heavens. And yeah, there was a physical tower built, but at the same time, what were they building in that tower? I mean, obviously they weren't building it tall enough to literally reach the heavens. So I think they were tampering with the nature of reality by maybe doing quantum physics, maybe doing CRISPR editing, genome sequencing, something like that.
Or maybe they found some Event Horizon top shit and found some wormhole sort of stuff.
Well, Aaron Armageddon, who's in the chat right now, he was talking on his show the other day about CERN, and I was looking up some CERN because he and I had a chat on Thursday night. If you didn't catch that, go back and check it out for sure. Give us a like and share and subscribe on our channel, and definitely on Armageddon Hour podcast too. His info's in the description of Thursday's video, but definitely check that out. Shit, I lost my train of thought there. But I was talking about the CERN. So the Tower of Babel, I think again was metaphorical. The languages where it was binary code or was mathematics. Either way, that was a single language that all of humanity can get together and speak. And they were, like I said, probably tampering with quantum physics or I was getting around to that Large Hadron Collider that Aaron and I were talking about, because he was talking about CERN on his show. And with that CERN, one of the main things they've been trying to do since they fired the damn thing up, I went all the way back to the early 2000s, and one of the main things they've been trying to do is create mini black holes. And these mini black holes, if they're able to create them, they will confirm that there is alternate dimensions according to these scientists that are trying to create them. They are also, like, if we cannot create them, then that would mean that the dimensions don't exist, or that and that string theory is wrong, and all these mathematical theories that we've been working on for decades aren't working. So they've been trying this the whole time to create these miniature black holes. Now, there was supposed to be, they had, and this I think is really hilarious when you get right down to it, because a lot of people are saying if they create these black holes, it'll be the end of the world. A lot of people are saying that CERN is in themselves trying to create the end of the world. And but the funny thing is, this reminds me of the religious cults over the year that give a revelation date, and they say this is going to be the date that everything is going to end. Well, CERN, they had this date where they had the miniature black hole math figured out, and they said we're going to crash these particles together, and we're going to create miniature black holes that are going to dissolve in like 10 to the negative 27th power of a second. So it's only going to be there for a brief second, then it'll disappear, or then they boom, smash the stuff together, nothing happens, no black holes. But they're like, oh, well, we actually had the calculations wrong. Just like the guy who read the Bible code wrong, and, you know, famously, I forget the guy's name, Charles William, I can't remember. Anyway, famous guy who did the Bible code and said the apocalypse.
See the fucker that said it wrong like 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
Like, nope, but wait, no, y'all, it's next week, guys.
So that's pretty much what CERN has been doing. They're like, oh, well, we had our adjustments wrong. We actually need this much power, and it's almost like the combination of that and the South Park, where they're like, oh, we need your money to be able to buy the next plane to be able to go to the next thing. So CERN has to upgrade, and well, we need to reach this next power level, and then we'll be able to make black holes and see if there are, because theoretically,
next time on Quantum Physics Z.
yeah, because according to our math, if we hit these things hard enough together right now, we should make 2 black holes, and they should make a binary black hole system and dissolve really quickly, and we should be able to measure it, and that'll show us that. And it's another thing that it seems like they're making it up, because they're like, oh, well, why does gravity not have as much force as it should? Like, if you take, for example, a magnet, you could take a magnet that is very, very weak, right? Hardly will hold 2 together, but you can stick it to your fridge and it won't fall, because that magnetic force is stronger than gravity is. So scientists are like, why is gravity so weak? And here, get this, this is what they say: there's actually holes into another dimension, and the gravity or the force actually leaks into those holes into the other dimension. Now, it could be right. That shit sounds made up to me. It sounds like somebody like making up like a sci-fi story, and they need some plot device, you know, to make something happen.
I'm gonna be walking down the road and unclip into the fucking ground and end up in another dimension. Yeah, that's basically what you're telling me.
Well, I don't know, but that's what they say, that the gravity.
So I'm in a Bethesda video game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna unclip one day and end up outside of the map in the back rooms.
So yeah, anyway, let's get to bring that back around. Well, one of the things that you might see in a Bethesda game could look like this, especially if you're playing Fallout 76, because it does have the...
That's the Mothman.
Yeah, it has the Appalachian Crypt. It has the Flatwoods Monster. But this guy here, the Michigan Dog Man. Look, he looks like he's got crab claws, don't he?
Everything evolves into a crab eventually.
Crab people. But this is from July 8th, 2022, and this is well after the Michigan Dog Man's become a internet phenomenon. A 7-foot-tall monster with a dog's head and the torso of a man, blue or amber eyes, and a howl that sounds like a human scream. So that's kind of weird. It has a dog head but screams like a human. Now this says in 1887. This is, like I said, this is the only dog med sightings that I could even find were from Michigan, and they were old, but no other old sightings. Since this one became an internet phenomenon, dog man sightings all over the place. So that's what I'm saying. Is this really a legit cryptid that's all over the place, or is this thing something that people have seen in, Wexford County back then, and that kind of people, I don't know, what do you call it? Retconned it into their own folklore.
Or you're having an outbreak of werewolves suddenly.
That could be too.
Dog man, it's like, oh, it has a big dog head with amber. It's like, it just sounds like a werewolf.
Mm-hmm. But could you imagine if it was like, Mars Attacks kind of situation, where like if I lost my head and I came out with like Orville's head or something instead of a dog head that was giant, if I was like 7 feet tall and I had like a little min pin head on or something like that, or a little toy chihuahua. Let's see. But in 1887, a couple of lumberjacks spotted the dog man, and then, they've been spotting him around there for years. What in the hell is that, Timu? That looks dirty, don't it?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but it looks like wieners. Let's see. In 1938, a man was fishing along the Muskegon River when a pack of wild dogs attacked him. He was able to scare most of them away by firing a shotgun in the air. One seemed unfazed by the firearm and stood on its hind legs and glared at the man. Now, my dogs, we have taught Orville and Stock a trick called Prairie Dog. And they will stand up like this. And sometimes Stock, even though he's a fat, 55-pound pug mix, he'll still stand up on his hind legs and up on two. So I think I could train him to do a little, the little tutu. Yeah. So just standing on two legs, that don't impress me. But if you got a human body with, dog head, now you got my attention, especially if the dog head is smaller than the human head would have been on that body. Like that, you really got my attention, because I know you're not wearing a mask. I know you got a real dog head there. So 1938 was when that occurred, and then in the 50s and 60s, there were sightings of the beast from Cross Village, Big Rapids, and Manistee County in Michigan. And in 1987, DJ Steve Cook of Traverse City recorded a song about the Dogman legend, and supposedly it was supposed to be a prank. After the song's released, dozens of callers called into the radio station of encounters, talking about encounters with the Dogman. So they did 2 Dogman films up there from Traverse City, and so if you're interested in following that, they were working on the 3rd one when this article was written about a year and a half ago. So there's definitely stuff out there on the Dogman that you can find. Again, though
it could still be, you could toss, like I say, you could toss that into some sort of lycanthrope, or it could be a skinwalker.
Yep. And what are we talking? Skinwalkers. Well, let's look at a little bit of let's look at this thing here. You ever hear of the Raven Mocker? The Raven Mocker, or Woman of the Woods, is a shape-shifting, Bigfoot-like creature of the Cherokee people of the Appalachian Mountain. And here's the illustration of her here. And she's a witch who watches over people in the form of a raven. Now, when the specific victim is chosen, she will, it's usually an elderly person too. That's who they tend to go after. And they say they find them in a sickened or dying state, and then the Raven Mocker takes to the sky in a fireball and dives down and will remove the victim's heart without leaving any incisions. And before the Raven Mocker attacks, it'll make its presence known by calling out like the sound of a raven, which is crow is like caw, caw, but a raven's like caw. It's like it's kind of longer, more drawn out. And horse. Let's see. The Raven Mocker was also featured in Mountain Monsters. That's another one. In the show, the Raven Mocker is depicted as a black fur Bigfoot with a white eye and a scar and ability to change into any animal, including a raven, hence the name. And it also is in the trading card game MetaZoo Cryptid Nation. We'll look at that card here of the Raven Mocker. And again, that's from Cherokee legend there and Cherokee lore. So I hadn't heard of the Raven Mocker, but it lives in our area. Another Cherokee cryptid that I had not heard of lives in our area, and they've got a whole bunch of them. But these are only the ones that are similar to. Let's see. I think this shouldn't be the same one. Okay, this was a little bit different of the Raven Mocker. Okay, so this is more in depth according to Cherokee mythology, and we got a better picture of the Raven Mocker here. It's actually a shriveled old person. She's a shriveled old woman, and she can turn into a raven. And sometimes she's depicted as having wings or the skull of a raven with no skin. And here she's shown, looks like with cloven hooves, right?
Kinda, yeah. Yeah.
Definitely doesn't look like raven's feet. And if you look at this, that definitely looks like a goat or something. So she's quite interesting. Well, let's see what we have about her. If I can get out of this. picture here. Now, she is, according to the Cherokee mythology, like the other one said, robs the sick and the dying of their heart and torments and kills the victim by slitting the victim's head. They consume the heart, doing so without leaving a mark on the skin, and they add a year to their life for every year that the slain would have still lived. So the sound of a raven mocker means that someone in the area will soon die. So they end up getting really old and wrinkly looking because they live a long time, so their bodies still age, but they don't die because they're stealing the years of the life off of the victims that they take. So in this one, it also says they will take to the air in a fiery shape. Now, important countermeasures. Raven mockers are normally invisible when feeding, but those with strong medicine could not only spot them, but cause them to die within 7 days. Medicine men will sometimes stand guard over the dying to prevent raven mockers from stealing the heart of the affected. So don't leave your elderly alone if they're, if they're not well. You keep the raven mockers away from them, and it's kind of like the, the gifted and the damned are the only ones who can see them there. But you can find them in. It goes through this page here on mythos.fandom.com. You can find out, which there's several different iterations of them in even. Walker Texas Ranger used one as a raven mocker, depicted as a medicine man with shape-shifting abilities and the capability of causing hallucinations in its victims. And that sounds a lot like a skinwalker, doesn't it? And and this kind of looks skinwalkerish and kind of wendigo-ish in its own way too. There's the raven mocker. That's a pretty wild-looking drawing of it there. I like that. Here's another one. And this says that they stay away from urban areas and they like wooded areas for their hunting grounds, and that they build nests by bending saplings into hummocks and covering them with moss and grass for shelter. They tend to leave and enter their nests by climbing trees, making it difficult and track to find their homes. They usually fill them up with valuables, and it will gladly steal anything made of precious metal, notably gold or silver, and they'll steal fabrics, which they will often line their nests and drape around themselves. This says they can be 8 feet tall and have hunched and muscular forms. Now, we've also seen that they have that they're skinny and shriveled, so that's a little bit of a variation there. But they also say that they stalk their prey from the ground or the treetops. So that's a new one on me. Hadn't heard of the raven marker. What do you think? You guys in the chat know that one? Now,
I've not heard that one.
Aaron, I know Mr. Armageddon Hour here used to have a special relationship with crows in which he would give them treats in exchange for trinkets, and they would bring him stuff. They would bring him stuff that they found, and he would give them treats in exchange for it. So the gnome people, yes, the gnome people. What was that movie I watched the other day where they stabbed the bad guy in the eye with a gnome? What was that? I can't remember now.
I know what you're talking about too.
I just watched it the other day. I was watching like less conventional Christmas movies, kind of like Die Hard, which is everybody argues is a Christmas movie or not. Yeah, sure. But the Krampus I watched, and what was the one where they stabbed the guy in the eye with the gnome? Damn, I can't think of it now. Anyway, let's see. We've seen random stairs abroad. That's a good hole to go down. Yeah, we talked about stairs in the woods in one of our early episodes.
That's old.
Yeah, we found. I found a few staircases in the woods, but I think all the ones that I found were like that I could actually get photographs of were like old houses that just had a steel structured staircase, and the rest of the house fell down around because it was block and fell into disrepair, and then the steel in the very middle of the house stayed up, which makes sense. Or like I could just see a random chimney. Like there was a house there, but others of them are just weird. Like my neighbor over here, she's got stairs that just go, and she's a very old woman, and she does weird stuff all the time, and she's got some stairs that just go up to nowhere, and they're right over here across my fence. Who knows what, did she make those stairs? I don't know. Random stairs go down in the forest. Yep, a goat hybrid is pretty much a demon, Dalton. I agree. I mean, that's like, if especially if it's eating people. Well, I don't know, because isn't a demon like a disembodied spirit that was left behind after the fall of the Nephilim? Isn't that what happened? Like all the I think a demon's a pretty specific thing, where you had everything that died, all the evil Nephilim and all the things that were killed in the flood. Pretty sure that's where the demons came from, and I'm sure there's other evil spirits than demons, but I think that's of course now demons do like to possess physical bodies, but that seems like it's like an innately evil if it's a goat that consumes humans and enjoys their terror. Yeah, they seriously do have human-animal hybrids there, and that's right. They, like I said, we went over some of the basic ways that they do that. Old hat, old stuff in a few episodes ago, because we wanted to show basically that it's not out there to think that these things might be. It's not crazy to think that these things might be out there. As long ago as 75 years, H.G. Wells, gosh, was it Jules? I believe it was H.G. Wells. Was writing The Island of Dr. Moreau. And it was all about, human animal or like different animal hybrids and chimeras. They've been talking about this for hundreds or thousands of years too. And we see depictions of, all the way back in Egypt, different, animal-headed gods. And
the chimera is a creature from way back of lore.
Cave art. Well, I mean, we talk about cave art back, thousands of years ago. In France, there's a cave with 30,000-year-old art, and they have animal-headed men in that. It's one of the most common things. If you go around the world, look in the cave art. Look at the most ancient art in the world. There are depictions of animal-headed humans.
Like ancient Egypt, most of their gods had animal-headed
Anubis,
pretty much all of them.
Yeah, I mean, Horus was a hawk, and
there's the one that was the Garel, had that alligator face.
I really remember the jackal in Stargate. Do you remember that scene where I can't remember? I've not seen that movie in forever. When I was a kid, I thought that was the coolest scene. Was it Anubis? Or was it something else? The dog that he was fighting at the very end of it there.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't remember, but I thought that was a cool ass scene. Avoid the fairy circles, Spill says. Yes, I definitely do. And people, a lot of times fairies, and that's a good time for me to show you. I was going to work this into the show a little bit later, but it's a good time for me to show you. Dang it. Now it's all... It's not coming off on the fly, or not seeming like it's on the fly, but here it is. Europeans with cryptids. What whimsical creatures. Let's invite them in for tea. Oh, thank you. We love some tea. Let us celebrate. Americans with cryptid. This is the last forest you're haunting, you son of a bitch. LMAO, I'm gonna fuck your corpse when I'm done. So this is our American corporate, like, this is what we're talking about with the skinwalker, the Wendigo, the fucking the guy we were just talking about, the dog man, or the raven mocker. This is the kind of stuff we're talking about in American cryptid lore. But then you go back in something like Greece, and you've got the Minotaur. That's an ancient and that would be easy for somebody to put a bull's head on. You get a big buff guy and you put a bull's head on him, everybody's going to be freaking out and running from him. That's pretty freaking scary.
Yeah.
You can put that on like a 7-foot dog.
Also when you look at Mayan and Aztec mythos, like all their gods were animal headed and deities and stuff like that. So I mean, it's quite a bit. There's a lot of stuff throughout history that could play through to it.
Well, another Cherokee one. We've talked about this one on the show before. I feel like this is a better source than a lot of what I found on when I was looking that up, because this one, none of those things that I looked up before even told us that the name was wrong on Junculla. This is Sulkalu. This is the slant-eyed or sloping giant, also known as the Cherokee Devil. And it's a feature of legendary Cherokee mythology who plays the roles of the Great Lord of the Game or the Master of the Hunt. The master of the hunt. And he clears mountains is one thing he does. But back in 1823, they spell it Tulikala, which the name is actually Sulkalu. And it ended up from them calling it Tulikala, from them misspelling it. It ended up with Junekala, and that's why we call it Junekala Rock. And if we go over to North Carolina, to Nossi Bald in Jackson County, there is a rock that has a great big old footprint in it. It really doesn't look like a footprint to me, but it is. I mean, it is an impression in the rock. And hang on a second, I'll find this for you guys. Thought it was on that page. But there's a big impression in the rock where it has what looks like a 7-toed giant would jump down out of the trees or out off the cliffs and land on this rock down there. And there's no photos on here. I could have swore I had photos of this. Let me look up Junekala Rock real quick. Judicola Rock. Okay. And it's just over the mountain here in North Carolina. And it's got some really wild, that's not a very good picture. Here's a better picture of it. Got some really wild looking petroglyphs in it. And, we don't know a lot about it, but supposedly this is where Junekala would jump down and land on this rock. And I'm not even seeing the 7-toed footprint here. Am I blind or? See if we go down a little bit further, if we can see it. I don't see it. A 7-toed footprint.
Nope.
Let me find a different picture of it. Maybe somebody else can point it out to me. But I watched it on that America Unearthed or something like that. Scott Walderman. But yeah, avoid those fairy circles. Let's see here. AJ said I guess he's talking about Alex Jones, said his family saw these hybrids and they were like mutants. They looked miserable and begged to be killed, but they're mainly focused on merging bio and tech now. Yeah, the Island Dr. Moreau. Kill me. Kill me. There was, there's like Aaron said, there's so much life in the ocean that we don't even know what is possible. And that'd be a good place to put all these things down in an undersea research, facility. If something goes wrong, you just turn it loose into the ocean and the pressure destroys it or something eats it.
Where you got some abyss-like thing going on.
Yep. You felt and heard unexplainable things out in the woods. These cabins at night are, oh yeah. Now I've run into several things in the woods that I don't know what they were. In Unicoi counties where I tend to encounter, now I didn't actually see anything and be like, oh, it was a dog-headed man. But I did one night this was about probably 23 years ago. And I remember walking through the woods out there with a group of friends out in Unicoi, a North Indian Creek campground area, except there was there was nobody camped there. It was an old campground. Nobody camped there. And it was just like we took an off-roading trail way up into the mountains and we camped up there. Well, we were up there and we would stay up there, and then one night we went up to where the beauty spot is, or where the Red Fork Falls is, and we got out there and went over the falls, and we got back to the car, and it was night, and there was a glowing coal following across the when we were getting to the vehicles, we looked up, and this glowing coal, at first I thought somebody was smoking a cigarette and watching us from up there, and it just kind of drifted across, and it was dark, it was bright enough that we should have been able to see if there was somebody walking with a cigarette there, but we didn't see anything. All we saw was this, coal, orange coal, looked like a cigarette, going along with the tree line up there. We were like, holy fuck, let's get out of here. And now, me and B, we actually got married over there in that area, and we were up there one day, and we walked up, instead of walking downstream to Red Fork Falls, we walked upstream, and we're kind of checking out this area, and we were in a clearing. And I swear this forest just came alive with the most insane, supernatural energy I've ever felt. And it was it was like the forest was super loud. It was like the forest was singing a cacophony, but it probably really wasn't making a whole lot of noise, but it just had so much energy, and it felt like it did. And it was like, I don't know how to describe it other than I've never had an experience like that in the woods. And I was kind of like, I was very on edge. It was very tense, very intense, and I did not take any solace from being armed either. I felt like whatever this sound was, this pistol I have tucked in my waistband is not gonna, be much help if this is a malevolent force, because this feels like something that is made up of a bunch of little pieces that would just kind of swarm you and you'd disappear or something. But I whatever it was, that feeling definitely stuck with me, and I had a similar feeling when I saw that guy. And the only other time that I've seen anything that I would say was similar to a cryptid, I've convinced myself that it was a great horned owl, but I still don't know for sure. Whatever I saw, I was driving on Old State Route 34 in Telford or in Jonesboro on the way to Telford, and I was driving there late at night one night, and there was a street light and a transformer, and as I drove under this transformer, something jumped off of it, the light went out, transformer blew, and I saw a great big winged creature just come down, like swoop right over my car. Now, was it probably an owl? I would think so, but an owl is very lightweight. I don't see how an owl jumping off of like a transformer would have made the light go out or the transformer blow, or I don't see how it would have affected it, because the owls don't weigh hardly anything.
They're abnormally light looking for their size. You'd think they would be heavier than what they are.
So anyway, those are my experiences with what I would call potential cryptids, but I've not had a whole lot of run-ins with them. Most of the things I've run into are actual bears, bobcats. Even I think I've run into a mountain lion before. But Aaron, I know you said you've been running into, you found weird dead animals and goats and weird sacrifice sites up Bumpus Cove and Dry Creek. One time you found an entire skeleton skinned to the bone in a burned spot. Goat skeleton. Okay. Dalton, you got lost in Monongahela National Forest in West Virginia. It was 15. You were scary. You were scared. It felt like something was following you, getting dark. Stomped through a swamp and made you right. Well, I'm glad you did, man. All kinds. Who knows what was in there in Monongahela. Golden Gate Bridge phenomenon. Yeah, maybe so, Aaron.
I know that I remember one of my friends who was related to people that owned there was like a weird it's the property that the Evil Dead house was on.
Yeah, Aaron, you're right. The demons were once angels. They were the angels who rebelled against God and then were destroyed by the flood, and then their spirits, their disembodied spirits, are actual demons. Trying to explain a surgeon in the Civil War, they'll call you a witch because you don't understand the complexity, and that happens to people in modern times. Yeah, I see that too. All right, Aaron, I got one just for you, man, because we're about an hour and 10 minutes into this, so we don't want to be on too much longer. But this one, Aaron, it may have been what you've been seeing, brother. You ever hear of the Wampus cat?
Yes.
It's also known as the Cherokee Death Cat. But this is a feline creature in American folklore that can be depicted as frightening or comical depending on the region. Now, in our area, in the Cherokee mythology, it is a cat-like embodiment of a female onlooker cursed by tribal elders as punishment. Okay, so she was a female onlooker who hid under the large pelt of a wild cat to witness a sacred ceremony that she wasn't supposed to witness. So the tribal elders, cursed her to be the Wampus cat. And in several southeastern tribal beliefs, they call it, again, a shapeshifter. which is a recurring theme in these. If you haven't noticed, all these guys that we're talking here are shapeshifters. And I don't know if I mentioned that about the Dogman, but supposedly he was a shapeshifter too. And like a werewolf, and the original werewolf mythology, we've popularized, or the television and movie has popularized, like you get bit on a werewolf, and the werewolf turns in involuntarily at a full moon. But there was actually a lot of ways you could turn into a werewolf. Like the werewolf could piss upstream of you, and you drink the river water and turn into a werewolf. In the original werewolf mythology, the werewolves can also turn at will, basically shapeshift.
I always heard like the real way was they could turn whenever they wanted to, but if they did it under a full moon, they were more powerful.
Right, and that's the original.
Because the power of the moon cycles.
That's the original European werewolf mythology, not the Americanized movie mythology. That's silver bullets and all this stuff. Now
the silver bullets, if you look at it, even like if that silver could possibly work, where it actually has an antibacterial and antimicrobial property.
If the werewolf disease is a disease or a parasite or something like that, then silver would make sense.
It could possibly work.
So, and like I said, about the Wampus cat. Now she's somebody who is a 6-legged cat. Has 4 legs for running and 2 for fighting, and also has a spiked tail and can shapeshift. The American Dialect Society noted the Wampus cat is an undefined imaginary animal, which could be heard whining about camps at night. It does vary in appearance, but it is similar to a cougar or mountain lion with light tan or yellow fur. It has yellow eyes and often has 6 legs as opposed to 4. And some say it has a ball-like formation at the end of its tail with spikes, and others say it has a spike at the end of its tail. And here's the Wampus cat appears in the Harry Potter novels, and this is from kind of the I don't know what you'd call it, like her bestiary, the Harry Potter bestiary from J.K. Rowling. That's where that picture comes from. But it's also common school name, Wampus cats, and they have 6 legs. And that's pretty common for sports teams for like high school or elementary schools and stuff like that. It does go to the like I said, the Cherokee Death Cat. It's another name for it. And let me hang on just a second. We'll find you a better picture of the Cherokee Death Cat, because Aaron, I think you're gonna recognize it. The Cherokee Death Cat. Oh, where's the one I was looking at earlier? Here it is. The Wampus cat myth explained from How Stuff Works. But let's look at the picture here. Does that look familiar, Aaron? The Wampus cat, I don't know if you told me it had 6 legs or not, but that's pretty freaky, really. If you think about that, like a centaur cat. It's like, it's part cat, part cat. The top part's cat and the bottom part's cat. Reminds me of that Futurama, where they go to the flooded Atlanta and Fry falls in love with a mermaid and he decides he's going to stay and get married, and he goes through with the wedding and everything, and then he runs to the ship and he's going to marry a mermaid. And he runs back to the ship and he says, why couldn't it have been the other kind of mermaid with the fish part at the top and the lady part at the bottom? That's such a loaded statement there, such a loaded question there. Just think about that. He said, why couldn't it have been the other kind of mermaid with the fish part at the top and the lady part at the bottom? Oh shit! But the Wampus cat, in How Stuff Works, they're going to debunk that and say, well, it's scientifically impossible. But yeah, who knows? Well, the Cherokee folklore, though, one talks about running deer. A Cherokee woman who wanted to take down the evil spirit Ewa, known as the spirit of madness. Running deer wanted revenge, for she believed the spirit was responsible for driving her husband Standing Bear to madness. So she puts on a booger mask in the spirit of a mountain cat, and she defeated the spirit and became the tribe's spirit taker and home protector. And now she is guarding the Cherokee lands against dark forces hidden in the depths of Tanasi, which is Tennessee. And then there's the other story about the woman who spied on the sacred ceremony. And the Wampus cat, also known as the Gallywampus, the Whistling Wampus, Catawampus is what, I don't know why they don't have Catawampus on here, because I've heard that one a lot too. They say it was influenced by European mythology, specifically the idea of women or witches with shape-shifting abilities, which we keep running into. So let's
It's like American folklore don't need no help from
for real.
shape-shifting.
No shit.
Because all of them are some sort of shape-shifting.
So let's look at the Wendigo real quick. And before we do that, for those of you who are afraid we're leaving out the Mothman, here's your favorite Appalachian cryptid. This is Mothman forever. Mothman forever. Thanks, Mothman. Oldie but a goodie. From 2019, actually. That one was. So we started on the Goat Man, right? And I was looking up the Goat Man, and I was trying to find, because in the story we started with, there was a guy who said that 5 deaths were attributed to the Goat Man, and I researched that bridge in that area, and I really couldn't find, like, I don't know, it feels like there has to have been people murdered in that area, but I really couldn't find any deaths, or I found 1 death associated with the area, and it came up a lot. And now at least recently, now there's if you go back, that story actually does originate, the Goat Man Bridge actually does originate with a murder that really did happen a long time ago. But with the Goat Man down there in Denton, Texas, the guy says that it's killed 5 people, and like the only recent one that I really even found was like this teenager who his family says he's allegedly jumped in off this bridge here where the Goat Man was and died. And his family says, oh no, it's not like him. They don't believe that he just jumped in. So some people are saying, did the Goat Man, come after him and he jumped in the water and drowned and died? But that was where the Alton Bridge in North Texas has really become a center of people driving over to check it out, and maybe even that kid when he died was maybe even out there trying to do the Goat Man thing. You know how bridges are. There's a haunted bridge in your town probably where you drive out on the bridge and turn off the lights or turn off the car or whatever it is. They're all over the place. Mm-hmm. All over the country we have these kind of legends about places. So here's a good dang, I gotta go back to that for a second. But anyway, I couldn't find any really thing leading to the idea that 5 people had died there from the Goat Man. And the Daily Star should have done that. You would think they would say, look, we investigated, and they just said, oh well, this urban legend expert claims this. And it's like, you're the freaking newspaper. You should be able to say, hey, did people actually die at this bridge? But they didn't. So I tried to do that a little bit, and I did find that the original that there was somebody murdered there, and a lot of people say it's actually just an allegory for like racism in Texas, that it's really not a real catawampus or whatever, Goat Man. But then that kid being black really added more to the kid that drowned in there after jumping off the bridge, added more to it, because originally like it was supposed to be like this racist precautionary tale, and then now the black kid is suspected by some people as being gone after by the Goat Man. So you figure that out. But this is, I forgot to read you this stuff here from the howstuffworks.com. The Greenville Sun report from December 17th of 1918 about the catawampus. And this is Greenville, Tennessee, just about 45 minutes from here. Greenville Sun. A wampus is reportedly roaming the Big Ridge in the vicinity of Gethsemane. The newspaper went on to say that sightings and rumors of the wampus cat have persisted for generations, further fueling the intrigue and tall tales surrounding the beast. And then there was a string of livestock deaths where the monster had consumed dogs, pigs, and other animals in the Norfolk area, and they speculated that a wampus might be the species long believed to be extinct, but it was actually really there, and perhaps killing livestock. So, if you see the wampus, Aaron, try to get a video of it, because I know you have, but Aaron, he told me that it was not a bobcat because he was telling me what he had seen, and I said, well, the easiest way to tell it's a bobcat and not a mountain lion, even though they can be similar size sometimes. Bobcats can be pretty big to a small mountain lion.
They can.
Large bobcat you could confuse for a small mountain lion, but for the tail.
Yeah, they're different. The fur is just their overall appearance, their face structure,
yeah. But I could see how somebody would confuse a bobcat for a mountain lion. But if you can't tell for sure, if it has a big tail, it's not a bobcat. Mm-hmm. And Aaron said, well, this one was definitely not a bobcat then, because it was walking away with me.
Does it look more like a lynx, or does it look more like any of the other big cats?
Yeah.
The tail, like you said, the tail is definitely easy.
Well,
the face structure.
I've seen the bobcats though that I was surprised with a bobcat when most of the bobcats I've seen are like this tall.
Yeah.
And big bushy and like definitely a bobcat. But I've seen other ones that were like taller and a lot longer, and I mean they were stumpier and they weren't like slinky like a cougar, but they were still I could definitely see if somebody did not know what a bobcat was, that they would think they were a cougar or a mountain lion. But let's see here. We'll finish this up here. We wanted to go to the Wendigo and the Skinwalker to finish it up. So, Dustin, you're pretty familiar with the Wendigo. What can you tell us about it?
It's basically a lore. It's kind of like you're almost cursed whenever you get to that point of desperation out in the woods and you consume humans. So it's a play against cannibalism.
Okay.
And once you consume the human flesh, you become the creature of the Wendigo.
Also, it's it says it's resembling a zombie here, but I would say I would say it's a corpse-like would be. But I've seen depictions of it with like deer antlers. I've seen images of it more looking like a big. Here we go, like this, like a Bigfoot. And that's a giant one. But yeah, it all comes down to it eats human flesh, right? That's what the spirit of the cannibalism is what causes it. All right, shut up. I usually remember to put that on mute before I start the show. But if I'm not mistaken, couldn't the Wendigo shapeshift too? Or could it? Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Yeah, human or ape, similar to an ape, or human with the head of a deer. And I've seen both of those.
I don't think they could really shapeshift, to my knowledge.
Okay.
They were once... depending on where you, what your stuff was, whenever you came under the power of it, it's like basically whenever you started consuming humans, you let it in and turn into one.
Mm. Nice. That looks like from Thundercats or something. Tim still never has told us about Thundercats. I mean, he has, but not. He's not giving us a full breakdown. He says that the Thundercats is the story of the New World Order, basically. Okay, so Wendigo's not a shapeshifter. So my bad on that one. It was so let's look at the Skinwalker though. It is a shapeshifter. Let's finish out on that, because what we could end up finding is that all these other cryptids that we mentioned tonight could actually be just a Skinwalker, right? I mean, if there is such a thing as a Skinwalker, and he pops up in different areas of the country, we could all have different names for him and different versions of him, and he could appear in different forms, kind of like Pennywise the Clown. You know, Pennywise the Clown in the It novel and the movies, if you're not familiar, would appear as the object or creature that most frightened the person to which it was appearing. So, for example, the character Stan was terrified of... there was an area in his town that had flooded, and a bunch of boys had drowned in there and died. And the idea of those dead boys in that standpipe was terrifying to him. So when he met Pennywise the Clown, he wasn't actually a clown. He saw like a red balloon, but then he said I had a bunch of dead boys coming after him, trying to drag him down and drown him in the standpipe. Whereas Richie Tozier, the character, he had seen the werewolf movie and was scared by it, so he encountered a werewolf that was chasing him, and so on and so forth. Where Mike Hanlon, the character in the novel, had seen the Rodan movie and been scared by Rodan. He had a giant crow that was trying to peck him, or a giant raven that was trying to kill him. So, however it affected the people the most, that was what it switched into. And this goes right back to the idea that this thing is trying to season the meat, if you will, trying to get that adrenaline into the bloodstream, trying to create that fear response before it consumes its victim. And that is what the character in It was doing, and Pennywise was doing. So I guess Pennywise probably was a kind of Skinwalker. But let's look
also
at
an eldritch being.
Oh yeah.
Along the, yeah.
What is that?
Basically the eldritch gods, and eldritch being like the H.P. Lovecraft sort of creatures, stuff that's unfathomable, the cosmic horror that you don't know. It's like it doesn't portray it to our mind how to describe these beings.
Yeah. And in It, they ultimately saw it as a spider, but the spider was just the form in which their brain could comprehend it the most easily. Mm-hmm. That was the closest thing to what it was that they could comprehend. Similar to when people see lizard people, like whatever the lizard person is, that, whoever this is, that whatever this being is that is doing these horrible, ritual abuse things to human beings, the human being stops seeing the physical makeup of that being, right? So they may very well see a lizard or whatever, because they're in such a terrified, shocked state of being that the intention or the energy behind that person actually comes through more than the physical being. So if they're literally being consumed little by little on a table while they're still alive or something, you can see why someone might envision the person doing this, putting this abuse on them as a lizard, even if they're not a lizard. You can see why they might see that. So the Skinwalker is kind of the same way. Whatever this creature is, whatever terrifies you the most, if you're out in the woods in the middle of the night and something gets a hold of you and is, flaying you or eating you or whatever, it really doesn't matter, what it is, like to you at that point, because it's too late for you. So
and that's why if you're in the woods camping in the middle of the night and a random little old lady comes up to you, don't follow them.
No, yeah.
They're trying to lure you to kill you.
Well, what do they call it in the Navajo? Ye Naldushi. It means it goes, by means of it goes on all fours. And this is, Navajo witches, including skinwalkers, represent the antithesis of Navajo cultural values. And so this is very similar to the Raven Lady, right? Or the Raven Mocker. and it sounds like the same creature, really, just described in different lores. You know, the Cherokee lore versus the Navajo lore.
East Coast, West Coast.
Yep. So this thing gets around whatever it is, and is it is this the Tahine? Do you ever hear of the Tahine in the Stephen King lore? I'm not sure if he made that up or not, but now I have to look it up. Is it just from his mind, or did it come up before? Looks like it's all Dark Tower stuff. So, as far as I know, Stephen King made that up, but maybe there is, a mythological or historical context for something called the Tahine. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it's just from the Dark Tower as far as this goes, but hard to really know. But either way, that definitely goes back a long ways, and we can find historical records of it and artistic records of it from way, way back. And so I think there's something to it. Do I know what it is? No, but there definitely are people being disappeared from the national forests. A lot of things could be happening to them. I'm not one of these that says, now the where I got onto this thread is because there's a whole group on Twitter who's like, oh, this is like the United States military, and this just sounds crazy to me, to be honest, but who knows? It kind of sounds like they say we're like, well, there's the army surrounding us at the ice ring, and like, oh, we've got warriors in space at the Kuiper Belt, protecting us from these demon aliens that live way out in the Oort cloud, and it's like, how can we believe anybody who says anything like this? Like, how do we we just have to take your word for it, I guess. But anybody can make up a story of what I'm getting around to. And the story is that the military is currently at war with forces in the national parks, and like special forces are going in and trying to clean these things out of the national forests, and then there's national forests, and then there's other people who will say that they are actually put them on reserves, that they capture them and they put them on preserves in the national forest, and we're not actually supposed to go out there. But if you do go out there, then you're basically fair game to the thing, and that's maybe even the whole purpose of the national parks.
I have heard that before, that certain parts of the parks, they have basically like they said, hey, this is your territory now. Things coming here, whatever.
Let's see here. We got some chats here.
Quite a few.
What's up, Catfight Paradise? Glad to have you with us. Let's see. You want my input? What's your input on the cannibal giants, not Sasquatch, but aka 20-foot giants, the true mountain giants that exist in modern times? I've seen stories about this, but really that's all I've heard is stories. I mean, it's not that I don't... it's not that I think that it couldn't be true. Like the Kandahar giant, for example, that actually sounds probably one of the more plausible ones. But I really don't know. At the end of the day,
there's all kinds of folklore through Native American stuff about that as well. Which where they found, like what we've talked in the past, all those mounds, burial mounds and such.
Yeah. 20+ foot giants that exist in modern times. I don't know, man. If you did encounter one, you'd be pretty unlikely to get away, I would think. A 20-foot giant. I mean, I guess, but you'd either have to kill it or get away from it. Either way, it'd probably be easier to kill it than to get away from it. If you think about it, because even a 20-foot giant, his head's only going to be like 3 times the size of mine. You got to 6'5" Creedmoor, or even a good hunting round like a 350 Legend or 300 Win Mag or something like that. I'd say that's going to take care of business even for a creature that big.
As long as there's you don't have plot armor in real life, or and these things, unless somehow there's some sort of like weird magical force around them. If they're like as the predator, if it bleeds, we can kill it. It's like. You have some. Well,
there's stories of them being killed. The giants and stuff, especially out there in the desert. The Navajos say they smoked them out and killed a whole bunch of them, and You know, like, again, most notably is the Kandahar giant, but supposedly there was a race of them over there in Afghanistan, and some people said the myth that the military is actually in the forest taking out the dog men or whatever. That they actually went over there. That was the whole purpose of going to Afghanistan, was to take out those red-headed giants, and they couldn't tell us that. You know, I have no idea. Yeah, Steve, what's the guy's name? I can't think of his name now. Steve Quayle, Quayle. He does a whole bunch of stuff on those giants, and again, like, I don't know, man. It just kind of, I hate to say it just kind of seems like a grift to me, but I just don't know. Steve Quayle, you used to see him around on the internet more, but you know, a lot of times when people are telling the truth, they'll get rid of them, but then other times they just kind of fade off because, you know, it's hard to really prove anything somebody says, and they keep, you know, I don't know. I've not seen Steve Quayle much lately.
Because sometimes you feel like these people, like, oh, the government's trying to kill all these things. It's like, okay, on the off chance they're real, and that's always been the thing of like, no, none of this stuff's real, none of this stuff's real. So and then it's like, if it comes out and things like this are real, it throws the turmoil to the ones in power up, because it throws the religious people that say these things don't exist up. It throws the government saying no, that doesn't exist. It could uproot like power structures throughout the world. So that's always a good thing to suppress things like that.
But it's almost like if that was the case, like they'd want us to know that they were keeping us safe from these things. You know, that's like if you go back to like a story like M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. You know, it's like you know, they wanted you to know that we're keeping you safe from this thing. You know, this fake monster that they made up. You know, that was sorry, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen that. You know, it's basically to have a bad guy that they controlled in order to keep everybody in line.
Well, they already created enough of those. But that's a different story.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if those cryptids were out there, like, maybe that was originally what those stories were, was like, you know, keep everybody in line. This is what we're protecting you from. You know, if it weren't for your tribal elders, you know, and your witch doctors, this is the shit we're having to deal with. You don't want our problems, man. Just do what we say. You know, we'll make life good for you. Catfight Paradise.
Plausible.
Yeah, in the wilderness of Canada, Alaska, absolutely. I mean, you know, the mountains of in the Himalayas, you know, the idea that a Yeti might exist over there, or that a Sasquatch or a skunk ape, or you know, what's the other thing? I didn't even get to the Cherokee Devil, the Judicala. We started talking about Judicala Rock, but I didn't even finish the Sukalu, and he was like I said, he's local here, and they're or I was going to find the story here. Oh yeah, that's all they have of him is that he this is the reason I wanted to bring this up. Sorry, the footprints of the giant Sukalu and a deer were found on a rock which was destroyed near the railroad building, and a deer, or you know, was he with one of these cloven creatures? And these hooves keep coming back, and that's one of the things that you see a lot of times with a skinwalker, is they'll have the hooves. And even I've seen depictions of the Wendigo with hooves too, in addition to the deer head. So that was why I wanted to bring that up, is I thought it was interesting that hooves keep coming across. And again, with the goat man, he had hooves too. And then we also have, it's just in time for Christmas, is where I was going to wrap us up. We have Krampus. Now, Krampus looks a lot like this goat man, and a lot like a lot of these skinwalker type cryptids, and he also has a cloven hoof. So, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. This, if you haven't seen the movie Krampus, man, it's a really fun movie. I went into
Keep your kids in line.
Yes, I went into it because it was made by MTV in like 2015 or something.
Yeah,
I expected it to be awful, and they did take it. They took a couple shots at like talk radio and gun owners, but it was like, the main character's brother-in-law, like they made no bones about it. It's like, thank God for the guns, because we would be fucked if we didn't have the guns to protect ourselves, which I was totally surprised in an MTV movie in 2015 that they said that. But they also, like, they started off making fun of the character. I can't remember his name. He's a bald-headed guy, plays in all kinds of comedy. I remember he plays the manager in the movie Waiting, and he's hilarious in that. And that's what I always think of him as. But you think of him as a restaurant general manager is what he reminds me of. But that guy in the movie is like he's like a typical right winger, but then the movie like actually turns out like, oh, this guy's actually not an idiot. He may be an idiot, but he's smart about some things like surviving. Like he may not be the smartest as about culture and other things that you think are important, but this guy knows how to survive. And like, yeah, his stupid Hummer is stupid, but when you're stuck in a snowstorm and you all need to go out and get somewhere, it's kind of like, well, thank God he's got a Hummer. And when you're being attacked by little demon toys, it's like, well, thank God he brought a bunch of guns with him. And so I thought that was pretty cool that MTV actually did that. They probably wouldn't make that movie that way now. But I was walking into it expecting it to be something totally different, but it's a lot of fun. It's that old Christmas legend, and actually Christmas used to be more for ghost stories than Halloween, and we see remnants of that with things like A Christmas Carol. But Krampus is an ancient, like German Christmas folklore, and it's really awesome. Enjoyed the hell out of it. It's on Peacock right now. If you got Peacock, you can watch it for free on there. It's like the double sided. It's like, if your kids are good, St. Nicholas brings them gifts of things, and if you're bad, Krampus will come and put them in a sack and beat them with a stick, and if they're really bad, he'll eat them. Yep. In his Christmas stew. Now, what was the battle rap horse again? Mary Lou, the battle rap horse. From Wales. So let's finish up on Mary Lou. How do you spell it? There it was. Yeah. Mary Lou, the battle rap horse. Mm-hmm. You got to keep your verses spitting when this horse is around, or you lose all your wassail. It's a wassailing folk custom found in South Wales. The eponymous hobby horse, which is made from a horse's skull on a pole and hidden under sackcloth. So, yep. So definitely keep up your battle rapping skills. You don't want to lose to the Mary Lou. Mm-hmm. And it is at Christmas time. It comes around to your house and knocks on your door, and you better be ready to battle. So with that said, everybody get your rap game in check. Stay on top of it. Keep them fire. That's right. Now let's see here. Read out the chat and close it out here. Bigfoot Radio likes to talk about that guy there that you're talking about, Catfight Paradise. Okay, we got that. Your cat had spots up the back, Aaron. Okay. But it had 4 legs. Okay. So definitely not the 6-legged variety of the catawampus. Wampus cat. Yep, but it mountain lion looking body with fading spots down the back, but huge and really long tail, and the ears with the bobcats, they got fairy ears. You take a wrong turn into Appalachia, and you may end up in the Twilight Zone. You're right about that, Dalton. And this Twilight Zone runs all the way up from really, I mean, it's hard to say it doesn't go to Florida, even though the mountains don't go all the way to Florida. It's hard to say the Twilight Zone doesn't go down into Florida with all the things that happen in Florida. Yeah, so I don't know if it's just feeding off of the fault line there, the Appalachian Ridge line into Florida, but it definitely all up and down the East Coast, you could take a wrong turn and end up in Twilight Zone, really anywhere in the country. But Dalton, your parents worked in Hawaii, okay, and worked with a man from the Paiute tribe in Nevada, and he had the skull of a giant human. Said he held the skull of a giant human in Lovelock Cave. Supposedly had red-haired giant cannibal remains. Yeah, and that's one of those stories of where the Hopi killed all those giants down there in Nevada. Supposedly Epstein cloned himself. Yeah, now Epstein had a genetic ranch thing going on, man, called Zorro Ranch. If you haven't looked that up, look it up. He was like impregnating as many women as he could with himself, and also trying to make genetic copies of himself. And a lot of these rich guys are into that too. They're like kidnapping women, or not kidnapping them, but buying, paying them to rent their wombs basically, and like having them come live with them, and like, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I forget the guy's name that was doing that, the real rich guy. But I don't think it was Peter Thiel, but it was a guy like that. One of these kind of billionaire, philanthropist types that is into really weird shit. But yep. So who knows? They may even be making those.
Okay, another reason why we're all poor, because we're not that batshit crazy.
Well, dude, if you're rich, tell me you wouldn't try to make like a giant cat best friend.
I would make a giant cat best friend, but I don't know about trying to clone myself and be all weird like that. But it's like I would have a cat or an interdimensional best friend.
Sure. All right, well, everybody, let us know. What would you think? Would you have an interdimensional kitty cat best friend?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Dalton. I appreciate y'all joining us. Thank you, Cat 5 Paradise. Good to see you. Haven't seen you in the chat in a while. Armageddon Hour, a pleasure as always. Thank you for your participation. So everybody out there in Radio Land, Spill, we appreciate y'all, and definitely check back in with us on Thursday. I had a good time talking with Armageddon Hour Thursday. We might do that again and try to make that a more regular segment with he and I getting together on the news and current events. So if you like that, let us know. Comment in the video. Let us know what you thought about this, and definitely like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. We're on Twitter. We are on YouTube. We are on Rumble. And Twitter and YouTube live every Sunday, most Sundays and Thursdays, and then on Rumble the day after. So we appreciate you joining us. Everybody come back and see us. And until next time, later.
They get it in frame.